And what is up, everybody? Okay, somebody posted online the top 15 Power Ranger ripoffs. And I'm shocked because I don't even remember there being 15 different, shows like similar to Power Rangers. There was one show in particular I know for a fact was a blatant ripoff, because mind you, I got into the whole this top 15 was done by ScreenRant, and ScreenRant, it's as if they're not even it's as if they're not even trying to do their homework seriously, especially on some of these. So it's just dumb for the most part. That is going through some of this. I can understand, but at the same time, it's dumb, because Power Rangers falls under the whole. Well, Power Rangers was from Super Sentai, and I already got into the whole how, Voltron. People were still say, oh yeah, Power Rangers, is biting off of Voltron, and that couldn't be any further from the truth. But what happens is, this here, there's like almost no truth to this. Okay, for number 15, they have Squadron Sport Ranger. Okay, apparently this is a Tokusatsu show. Probably took place in Japan. It's not officially licensed to the Super Sentai. Sentai means squad or squadron. And this is called Squadron Sport Ranger, but it's not actually a part of the Super Sentai genre, like Zeo Ranger, which we know as Mighty Morphing, or Aba Ranger, which is Dino Thunder, or Samurai Sentai Shinkenger, which is Power Ranger Samurai, stuff like that. This was Squadron Sport Ranger. Okay, then here's Hikonin Sentai Akiba Ranger. Akiba meaning, costume, more or less cosplay. So, and it had, even though it has Sentai in the title, apparently this also was not a part of the Super Sentai genre, the Super Sentai franchise, but still Tokusatsu. So you can't necessarily say that it was copying off of Power Rangers. It's just doing what Japan has been doing for so long, and which the American entertainment industry has been ignorant about, and apparently is continually trying to spread this ignorance. Okay, number 13, you had Tomika Hero Rescue Force. Cool looking costumes. It's more like they have more body armor as opposed to just the regular tight suits that they wear. Looks cool. Never actually saw it, but again, just Tokusatsu, not necessarily ripping off a Super Sentai. Voice Luger. These guys aren't even wearing masks. It looks like maybe they're pilots of some kind. But again, Tokusatsu, just the live action science fiction shows that they've been doing for years. Okay, here is an American show that I've been trying to forget for a long time. Van-pires. V-A-N Pires. Seriously, it was so dumb. The van, it's named after the antagonists. The antagonists being van-pires. That the reason why it said van is because they basically suck the life out of cars. And the protagonists, the motivators, I don't even want to. This was so dumb. I don't even want to explain this any further. It was horrible. Number 10. This is stupid. This is real stupid on their part. Ultraman Tiga. Ultraman as a franchise has last year celebrated its 50th anniversary. Okay? The Ultraman franchise has been around longer than the Super Sentai franchise. So Ultraman Tiga, being part of the Ultraman franchise, why would they say this was a Power Rangers ripoff? When my first introduction to the Tokusatsu genre was Ultraman Towards the Future, which also known as Ultraman, known as Ultraman Greater or Ultraman Great. It was the first Ultraman series shot entirely outside of Japan, and when I first saw the American live action, The Guyver, I immediately thought of Ultraman. And then even when I saw Power Rangers for the first time, the first thing I thought of was Ultraman. So why would they be stupid enough to say that an Ultraman show is a ripoff of Power Rangers? And again, all part of the Tokusatsu genre. Los Luchadores. This show was so retarded on so many levels. Basically having to do with mass wrestling. First off, the title Los Luchadores means female wrestlers. And it should have been Las Luchadores. It's luchadors, not luchadores. Luchadors. And they didn't, they weren't necessarily fighting monsters or transforming or anything like that. The show was absolutely retarded. Absolutely, I don't know where that name came from. I'm tired. Bear with me. Mummy's Alive. You can't consider this a Power Rangers ripoff. Yes, they transform, and become more, more powerful. I don't know for those of you who never saw the show, but Mummy's Alive was basically how these four mummies come back to the life to protect this kid Presley, who is the reincarnated spirit of Prince Ramses. Now, that being said, when they transform, they have this this ancient Egyptian armor, to particular animals that they represent: cat, snake, falcon, and ram. Okay, cool. I like the show. I actually like the show. A lot of people didn't. It's a shame it didn't get a second season, but I was a fan of it. But that harkened more like to, I want to say, Centurions. They've been doing costume power-ups long before the introduction of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So why would they say that, oh, this is a ripoff of Power Rangers? That's dumb on their part. Here's another one that's absolutely stupid on their part. Kamen Rider Kuga. I've never seen the show, personally. It was never Americanized because it's part of the Tokusatsu genre. It's another Tokusatsu show. Kamen Rider being around for decades now. Has nothing to do with Super Sentai. Why would they say that this is a Power Rangers ripoff? Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills. This was the only show that I know for a fact was an absolute blatant Power Rangers ripoff. How good was the show? The name was Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills. That's all I'm going to get into because I don't want to have to stroll down memory lane with this show. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Clearly, ScreenRant didn't even try doing their homework on this. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, comes out the year after Power Rangers, obviously, live action show. But again, it's an Americanized Tokusatsu show. On top of that, an Americanized Tokusatsu show called Gridman. Gridman, especially the first time I saw it, was like Ultraman. As a matter of, it's almost like a spin. I don't know if it was officially part of the Ultraman franchise or like a spin-off or something, because clearly that's what he is. He's a cyberspace Ultraman. They even have him grow and transform with the whole coming up from small to getting bigger with his fist pointing up in the air like this. Just like Ultraman did. In almost every single one of the Ultraman shows. Why would you say this was a Power Rangers ripoff? Dumb name. But again, just stupid. Masked Rider. Masked Rider was the first Kamen Rider introduced to the United States. But the show Masked Rider, they took the footage from Kamen Rider Black RX. So why are they calling, again, part of the whole tokusatsu genre? How are you going to say that this is a Power Rangers ripoff when it's just another superhero show that they had? Stupid. Mystic Knights of Tir Nanog. Now, Mystic Knights was basically Saban, who imported all these most of these tokusatsu shows. It was just them trying their best to come up with a show on their own, something more original, with the transforming and the magic and stuff like that. And it was a big hit, but it did not get a second season, unfortunately. Big Bad Beetleborgs, again, another tokusatsu show from Japan, another completely different franchise, part of the Metal Heroes, which had been around for decades. Nothing to do with Super Sentai. So why would you call it a ripoff? And number 1, VR Troopers. I can't get into how wrong this is. VR Troopers is actually the first, actually both seasons. Metal Heroes, part of the whole Metal Heroes franchise. The first one being Metalder, who was basically a parody or like a spinoff of Android Kikator. And that hero was the one that hero was supposed to have its own show, originally called Cybertron, which they were going to give to Jason David Frank when Jason David Frank was leaving Power Rangers. But we all know how that ended. And then for the other two, because notice how whenever they were fighting the other robots, because that's all they fought, robots. They didn't fight monsters. Whenever they fought any of the other robots, they had a completely they were never fighting in the same. They were never fighting in the same scene, with the exception of JB and Caitlin. But Ryan always fought, went off to do his own thing, and even what Ryan turned into later was just a later incarnation of the Metal Heroes that JB was playing. Again, completely different franchise. All Saban did was take these shows that coincided with each other and that have been going on for decades, long before introducing Power Rangers to the U.S. All Saban did was Americanize it. That's it. ScreenRant, I can't believe, honest to God, I can't believe you did this, because it's bad enough. I mean, seriously, it's bad enough the American entertainment industry is so ridiculously ignorant when it comes to stuff like this, and considering how many movies from overseas that we had to adapt and Americanize because America all of a sudden has no original ideas anymore. You have to go to cartoons. You have to, all these foreign movie remakes. It's dumb. It's dumb. I'm getting sick of it. And for you to, post this up, to just help spread these people's ignorance, everybody's ignorance, I'm sorry. That's unacceptable. I'm not going to stand for it. Anybody watching it, you guys shouldn't either. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.